You losing with the Instagrammers.
Here we go. Right, should we start?
Let's go.
Good evening, ladies. My name is Nadine.
I'm Jen.
I'm Ashley.
And we're Women's Warehouse.
We are here to educate.
Uplift.
And empower you.
You.
If you guys are on Facebook and Instagram for the first time and you don't know who we are, let me quickly just give you a quick brief. So we are Women's Warehouse, and we started this business in lockdown 5, and it's really all about educating and uplifting women. And we have 5 pillars to our business. We have an automotive division, we have a DIY, household, safety, and intimate health, and that is what we are talking about tonight. We're very excited because we are talking all things pleasure.
Yay.
And not just any pleasure, sexual pleasure.
Yay. Double yay.
Double yay for that. And the reason for that is that it is the World Sexual Health World Sexual Health Month.
Yes.
The month of September, and that's why Women's Warehouse is called the Sexy September.
Yeah.
And the theme for this year is pleasure.
And the right to pleasure.
And the right to pleasure, absolutely. And I think as women, that is something that we don't talk about. We're a little bit shy to do that. But tonight, we are going to break the bias.
That's
and
right.
the stigma and all those things, yes, that is connected to pleasure. But I think, ladies, let's talk about what the definition of pleasure is. And let's start by the basics. So I'm going to read it to you because we got it from the dictionary, Oxford.
Basics.
So, the basics. What is pleasure? The definition is the state of feeling of being pleasured, enjoyment and satisfaction derived from what is the one's liking, gratification, delight, worldly or frivolous enjoyment, the pursuit of pleasure. And that's what we're going to do tonight, is the pursuit of pleasure.
Absolutely.
And then the definition of sexual pleasure, and that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Jim, do you want to give us that one?
I had this one up because obviously pleasure and sexual pleasure are two different things. So sexual pleasure is the physical or psychological satisfaction and enjoyment derived from solitary or shared erotic experiences, including thoughts, dreams, and autoeroticism. So a lot of big words for a Thursday. I hope it's not a Thursday in your house.
So you know, at the end of the day, you know, there's different kinds of pleasure. It's not necessarily all just the actual act of sex. So what we would like to discuss tonight is just the different kinds of pleasure and what that looks like. And I think, shall we start with some of the topics? And I think the first thing that we need to start off is definitely consent. You know, we have to look at anything to do with sex. You have to have consent.
Mutual consent.
Absolutely.
Yes, it needs to be a mutual consent. I think that's something that we are fighting in South Africa at the moment, that we deal with a lot of traditional and cultural backgrounds across. It's a diverse country. We are very blessed to have many different cultures, but I think the one thing that we all share is that for a long time it's meant that women have to take a step back, and when it comes to pleasure, I think it's all about
and it's always about the man.
Yeah,
you know, at the end of the day, it's like, as long as the man is satisfied, you know, women have put so much pressure on themselves to always look good and to pretend and to, you know, make the guy feel good. And that's
duty.
Out of duty, that's it. I
Correct.
like that.
consent versus duty.
Yeah, consent versus duty. We should actually do a post about
Yeah.
that. But at the end of the day, you know what is so amazing about being a woman is the way we created.
Yeah.
Did you guys know that a woman has an organ in her body that a man doesn't have, number one? And this organ is solely there for sexual pleasure.
Can we just get
Yes.
hoorah?
Hoorah!
Hoorah!
Thank you, Lord, for making us know what we have. And you know what that organ is? It's the clitoris.
Yeah.
And if you've been to one of our My VMEs, you'll know that we talk a lot about the clitoris. And actually, the clitoris has 8,000
nerve endings.
and that's all there for you and for your pleasure. So God wouldn't have given you a clitoris if it was all about the man. Trust me.
Absolutely.
He gave it to us so that we could be pleasured as well, and that's very, very important.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, the man always, he comes every time.
Yeah.
He
He's
does.
pleasured every time.
Yes.
That's why we have a clit.
And I think it's so amazing how we created that. That is a woman only
So-
part, and it ties in with your right to pleasure. That organ is there for your right to pleasure. So you need to start. We talk about the song that we always talk about, the clitoris is, I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. So tell me what you want, what you really, really want. That's what we need to do, and I think that all
Absolutely.
ties in with the theme.
Yes.
You got to tell us. You got to tell your partner, and I think that's where the consent comes in.
Yes.
And you know, at the end of the day, we as women need to know that, you know, it's not shameful
Yes.
to enjoy sex. It's
Yeah.
not shameful to be pleasured, and enjoy your body, girls. I think at the end of the day, you know, you've been given a body, and your body is there. Especially, we are actually created as sexual beings.
Yes.
You know, and for me, at the end of the day, we try and hide that, but don't hide that.
No.
You're made sexual, so
We are here to break the mold on that. Let's go.
absolutely.
Get into it.
So let's talk about the different kinds of pleasures, and the first one is erogenous touching. Oh,
Big word, guys. Put
first
the
thing-
wine down, absorb that word.
Erogenous
Erogenous
touching. Okay, so I had to Google it. So I'm going to quickly just read it to you guys, and I've got it on my phone. So it is, see, I'll even do the pronunciation. Erogenous.
Erogenous.
Sensitive to sexual stimulation. Erogenous zones. Girls, we have different zones. And this is what's so amazing. So it's all about touching me, touching you,
Yes.
and what you like. And everybody has a different zone that they like touching. And we were just talking and laughing a little bit earlier on about the different things. And, you know, you were talking about the ear,
Yes, just nibbles a little bit.
just a little nibble. And you were like, just breathe a little bit.
Yeah. Give me the goosebumps.
That's giving me the
Gives me
goosebumps.
the goosebumps.
And some people like their necks kissed, and I think some girls like their bum squeezed.
Yeah.
And it's all the different areas in your body that you like to be touched on.
Yeah.
Maybe you like to have your feet massaged or your back massaged.
Massage is great.
Yeah, and I think
Massage,
that's
great.
great. And that's also such a great thing to do, is touch each other,
Yes.
especially if you're getting to know each other's bodies. And you can actually communicate with your partner what you like and what you don't like. And I think that that's the big thing, is this communication. Because there's no point in having sex and doing something that you don't like. And that's why communication is so important.
And what I love here, when we looked up erogenous touching, this is something that you don't reach climax. But another thing that's so amazing is that you can actually, some people reach an orgasm through nipple stimulation alone.
That's
So
amazing.
I think that's so powerful that we get into a zone where we think that there's only one way. And I think through erogenous touching, it gives you a little bit of a icebreaker, sort of
A
to,
build-up.
yeah, like a build up,
Yes.
a lot of foreplay, you know, like, I remember Dr. Alma say, get the lube, but warm up the lube, gents. If anybody's here that's a man, warm up the lube, get the lube warm, but there's a way to really connect with your partner, and I think that's what's important.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and
not a rush thing like wham bam, thank you ma'am. You have to explore. It's an adventure.
Yes.
I love that.
And it's also kissing. I think at the end of the day,
Yes.
that's part of it. You know, kissing and touching. You know, I think it's your senses on your mouth as well. You know, there's so many nerve endings on your mouth and in your tongue. You know, that's the reason they're there, is to kiss. It's sensual. It's sexy.
Great.
Oh yeah.
Kissing and massaging and breathing.
Yeah. So I think the next topic
Yes.
is the
On
one
top of
that
the mouth.
is the topic of the and we're going to talk about oral sex. I'm like, yay for oral sex.
Me too.
Because, you know, but at the end of the day, I think that what's important here is that, you know, again, consent. You know,
Yeah,
some
absolutely.
people like to give oral sex, some people don't like to give oral sex, some people, you know, it just also, again, it's just depending on what you like and what you don't like.
Yeah.
But then again, communication. I think every single one of these is going to go back to communication and consent.
Yes, always.
Yeah.
So always revert back to the first two steps, which is communicating with your partner and consent. But with oral, I think we need to have an understanding of what we were talking about prior to the session was about you and your partner.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot of things that we need to take into consideration, especially in this day and age, is that we look and advocate for marriages,
Yeah.
people that are married,
Yeah.
because your chances, I mean, looking at oral touching, you can't really get an STD, that sort of thing. So when you look at oral, now we need to use wisdom. It's a great thing,
Yeah.
but it's also a great thing for married couples. You know that person, you know their sexual history, you've been together. I think it's important for us to really push that narrative, is that yes, we know life is life, but use wisdom in these cases when we're talking about the next ones, which is oral sex.
No, and I think the thing is also, you know, if you are with somebody that you don't know, you know, you don't know where that person's been, and you don't know if it's clean and, you know, hygienic, and, you know, you've got to be careful. So just use wisdom.
Yes.
I think that's the most important thing. And, you know, of course, is communication at the end of the day.
And this is not a judgmental place.
No.
We know the world. We're here to just give you information, empower you through education.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
think
it's
that
about.
at the end of the day, that's right. And I want to just share a quick story. I don't know, you guys obviously know that we partner with Bisexual Health, and Dr. Alna is part of Women's Warehouse. She comes onto our My BME talks and does a lot of work with us. And I was actually listening to one of her programs on TV, and if you guys didn't know, she's got a program on TV called 80 Slop.
80 slop.
And she talks about all different kinds of sex questions.
That's weird. Do not disturb is on.
Yes.
That is very weird.
And you know, she was talking. One of the questions that came in was a lady that called in, and she was talking about oral sex. And she asked a question. She says, "I don't really like giving oral sex, but my husband is wanting to do this, and you know, I don't know. And there's an erotic part of oral sex, and it's just orgasming in her mouth, and she doesn't know if she can do that." And Dr. Alna gave such amazing advice where she was just saying, well, there's basically 4 things that you can do. It is, again, communicate. Say, this is something that I really don't want to do, but I'll try. And if you are going to try, there's 4 reactions. And the first reaction is that if you do, you know, orgasm in my mouth, I might, just before it happens, I might just pull away. The second thing is, if you do, I might spit it out. And the third thing is, I might vomit.
Yeah.
And then the fourth thing is, and I heard myself when she said that, she says, like, I'll swallow it and then we'll high five each other. And I thought that was so cute, because at the end of the day, it's all about enjoyment.
Yes.
And you've got to do what makes, you know, what's pleasurable to you.
Yeah. And I think it's so amazing for her to have that communication and want to try something new.
Yes.
I think we become quite, as you get older, you try and maybe just stick with what works. But I think maybe to explore each other's bodies and start implementing even the erogenous touching.
Yes.
If that's step 1 in what you're doing with your partner, why not try that? And you can let us know how it worked out for you guys. Did you give each other a high five afterwards?
I love it.
Was it great? So
Yeah.
are we going to go on to the
next
one?
one?
Is very traumatic for Jen.
Okay, so we're talking about the danger, gevaar, gozi. Yeah. It's anus sex. So at the end of the day, you know, this is a topic. But again, you know, I was also shocked by the stats. Dr. Alna was sharing this also on a program, that actually more heterosexual couples have anal sex than gay couples. So, you know, at the end of the day, this is something that people are doing, and people are enjoying it. And I think again here is wisdom.
Yeah.
You know, let's just, when you know, you need to use a lot of lubrication, and you've got to use wisdom with this. And again, consent. I think at the end of the day, that's about consent.
And I just think we also need to use, we had in our Marvi and me, and if you guys have ever joined us, we had a lady that her statement was that she only really orgasms from her anal sex, and for me it's like, if that's her, she needs to explore and embrace that.
Yeah.
But I think there are other opportunities to ensure explore your sexual health and your sexual activity. But for me, we need to understand the medical repercussions from that, and that is that the anus isn't like a vagina that's a collapsed muscle. It will end up stretching.
Yeah.
So when you put something in, it's not a collapsed muscle, it will actually stretch. And in certain instances, you will need to get something that will obviously keep the feces in, because at the end of the day it collapses and then your feces will then just come out. So we just need to, again, we real talk. We're
Yeah.
not going to,
And this is what it's all about.
this is the real talk stuff. So we're just
Yeah.
saying that again, use wisdom. No judgment here, but know that these things can happen if you're doing it once and again. I mean, that is fine, but if you are consistently doing it, that does happen. So please just bear that in mind, guys. And again, we talked about double D.
Yes.
Oh, double
do
dipping.
not double dip.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, you have to remember our vaginas are very sensitive. It's a very sensitive organ, and we are very susceptible to your infections and thrush and UTIs, and
Yes.
yeast infections. So, if you are going to engage in anal sex, do not engage in double dipping.
Yes,
Okay.
no vaginal and anal
Yes,
at the
'cause-
same time.
I mean,
Yeah.
let's think about it logically. You
Yeah.
know, what comes out of your anus?
It's
It's
feces.
feces.
Yeah.
And then he sticks his penis into your anus where where the feces
Feces
is, and
Yes.
then into your vagina, and that's definitely for sure 100% gonna cause an infection.
Yeah.
So don't engage in double dipping. If you're gonna have anal sex, ensure that he cleans afterwards, or maybe go from front to back, but never from back
To
to
front.
front.
Yeah.
If
Ever.
ever, ever, forever, ever.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that at the end of the day that this is something that you can explore and use wisdom and be wise. That's
Yeah.
it. At the end of the day, that's
Consent.
Yes.
You do not have to do it because it's your husband. You do not have to do it because they want you to. Consent is a two-way street.
Absolutely.
So please, guys, just use wisdom in that regard.
And I think that if you have never done it, I have heard that it's very sore. So again, you need to use lots of lubrication. Wisdom.
Warm up to it. Like we said earlier on, sex is not a wham bam, thank you ma'am.
about
It's
play.
an adventure. There's foreplay
Yeah.
involved. That's why we have erogenous touch. We have we enjoy different things like nubbling on ears and rubbing of nipples. Dr. talked about rubbing the nipples. So you don't have to go into it immediately. Maybe start by playing around the anus and showing that it's relaxed, and then
Yes.
warming up the lube and
Yes.
lubing it up, or using baby oil.
Because it says here, there is no lubrication in the anus.
Anus, yeah.
So zero lubrication, so it also can be quite painful.
Yeah.
So you heard it here
Yeah.
first.
Ease into it, ladies.
Yes.
Ease into it. Absolutely. Right, moving on to the other one. The other subject that's quite a touchy subject, and I know that this is in a lot of religious, sectors,
Yes.
religious
Communities,
backgrounds,
congregations.
whatever, that, masturbation. So we want to just talk about
Big M,
the masturbation.
not
I remember-
McDonald's.
Nope, not the
The
golden
M.
arch.
Huh?
The golden arch.
The golden arch. It's not the golden arch. No.
So masturbation is something, again, we were discussing it, and I was just like, the way that our bodies are created, and again, I want to say that we are sexual beings,
Yes.
and if you look at a little baby finds its hands to its genitalia, and it explores that, and there's nothing wrong with that, because that's the way God has made us. We need to explore our bodies, and touching your genitalia is nice, and that comes from a small age. And I think that the way, just for parents as well, when your child is exploring their bodies, to tell them, like when we were growing up, and I think it's very much from in my culture was, hair's gonna grow,
You're gonna go
arm,
blind.
and you're gonna go
Blind.
and
So
so
scared to do anything.
I was so scared I didn't even kiss a boy. I thought I was going to get pregnant if I kissed a boy. But anyway, at the end of the day, it's about exploring your body. And it's also about exploring what's nice for you. And I think, again, it depends on how you masturbate. For me, and again, no judgment. A lot of people use pornography to masturbate, but for me, that is not something that I would do, because I don't find any pleasure in that. That's not for me. That wouldn't work for me. But I know that there's a lot of people that enjoy that. And again, it's up to your own preference,
Yeah.
and it's also your own beliefs. I think
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
And also, you know, again, we go back to what we are with married couples and people that have been, you know, there are situations when you're either away or you're not with each other, then use that as an opportunity to like create a bit of foreplay if the person's not there, and get involved with each other, and maybe there's another point that's in here that we can maybe bring in sexy talk and masturbating with each other. There's different ways to do it. For me, it's always about if it's in secret and it's becoming something that is addictive and it's taking over your thought patterns, and it's something that's being done in secret, try and chat to somebody. Maybe there's something that you need to work through. Again, no judgment, but this is the truth. We'll be the truth for you guys, and we're going to plant seeds and maybe make you think about things in a different way.
Yeah.
But masturbation is something that is there, it's happening, and I just think it's how it's happening that you guys need to communicate. If your husband's not there and you're his wife, send him a picture, you know, send him something that's for him. Please don't send pictures to strangers, because have you watched The World's Most Hated Man on the Internet? Go to Netflix, that's real.
Yeah,
That's real.
I haven't watched that, and I was actually quite shocked to hear the stories about it. So I think at the end of the day, it's something that, you know, masturbation is something that you can use, like you say, you know, in a relationship. If your husband travels a lot, and I know we run another business with recruitment, and a lot of people that are on contract, so they're away from home for 3 months, 6 months at a time.
It's long.
And that's a long time. So for me, it's you know, again, we created as sexual beings, you know, and I'd rather have somebody, you know, pleasure myself before trying to be unfaithful to my partner, you know, and do it together, like you say, maybe on the phone, have sexy talk on the phone, and we'll talk about phone sex just now, and, you know, use this as a tool to get to know each other's bodies, and use this as a tool, you know, to discover what the other person likes and what they don't like.
Yeah. And sorry, just to add, is that if you're a single woman, I think it's great if you don't want to be promiscuous and go out to multiple partners. You're going to need to release that sexual tension. It happens. So rather do something where you're using wisdom again instead of going out to look at different people. HPV is a thing, guys.
Sexual disease is a
It's
thing.
taking women. It's part of cervical cancer. We need to use wisdom. Sex is awesome, but you need to use wisdom. It's not worth your life.
No,
It
it's
really
not.
isn't.
No, it's not.
No, and I think another thing is also something that I struggle with is the shame.
Yes.
The shame attached to it. Because I mean, you know, like we mentioned now, different cultural backgrounds, different spiritual beliefs and moral systems that we have, that are instilled in us by maybe our families, our communities, our churches. And I just feel like, you know, you said God created us with an organ that was designed specifically for pleasure.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong in exploring that organ.
Yeah.
Because it's your body.
Yes.
You know, and you shouldn't be ashamed
Yeah.
to explore that part of your body.
Absolutely. And this is what we advocate at Women's Warehouse is get to know your body. You know, at the end of the day, when we have the MyVME parties, we talk about your vagina. We talk about your vulva versus vagina. You know, we talk about the good and the bad stories about, in our vagina diaries, about your vulva, about your vagina. And this is all part of getting to know a little bit more about how you function as a human being or how your body functions. And that, you know, certain things are normal. Certain things are normal, and it's a normal thing to have urges. It's a normal thing. That's the way we are created. And, you know, that's why the clitoris is so amazing.
Yes.
At the end of the day.
Viva the clitoris. We should say viva the vulva,
But
viva the clitoris.
Amen.
Yeah. So that's on masturbation. And the next sort of topics that we want to talk about is, if I can get my page to the next one,
Doing sex toys.
sex toys. Woohoo! Again, guys, I just want to put it out there. A lot of religious sectors don't believe in advocating sex toys. A lot of cultures, a lot of religions don't believe in this. But I just want to put it out there and say to you that, you know, there are a lot of real issues in a marriage and with our sexual health. And things are like, you know, women don't know, have never orgasmed. And this is a great tool that you can use to actually get that your clitoris stimulated, and you can actually orgasm. You know, this is also a great thing in married couples. The older you get, just remember your libido is not the same as when you were 20, and a lot of men struggle with erectile dysfunction, and there are tools that can help you with that. So I again believe that this is a great way of exploring each other's body, to bring a little bit of sexy into your relationship, keep it interesting, you know, and again to help you to have a healthy sex life at the end of the day.
And you know, when it comes to sex, we always joke about it, and we're like, Game of Thrones, did you want your props back? There's traumatic experiences.
Yeah.
You need to use wisdom in that too. Go to a reputable place. Don't go to the backyard guy when you're looking at your toys. Because I mean, even just the stuff that it's made out of can have a negative effect on your pH balance. So we're always talking about the health behind it, your intimate health. So even when you're doing this, do your homework. There's some lovely places online that you get really, I mean, My Sexual Health.
Yeah.
Amazing products that they've tried and tested. It's from the experts. Go and have a look, but use wisdom in that as well. Whatever you're using, and then if you're using other things, just make sure there's instructions, or if there's handcuffs involved, make sure you got the key for it.
Consent,
Do not do that.
consent.
Consent.
And just hygiene.
Hygiene. You wash that.
Wash it. Hygiene. Yeah, and just make sure that you also, when you're washing your toys, that you are washing it with a soap that you will use for your genitalia.
Yeah.
So we advocate just your feminine washes.
Yeah.
You know, like your Femogene and your
Gynagard.
and those washes. Use that to clean your sex toys with. Yeah. Okay. Wisdom, consent, hygiene. Those are your
Just go to that.
yes.
And I know a lot of women, like we touched on it now, my V and me, Dr. Anna touched on it. Some women, what is it called when it's painful to insert anything in the vagina? Like even a tampon, you know, maybe they haven't used a tampon before, so inserting anything into the vagina is really, really painful. So you can't, like, you know, straight away go for one of these dildos, you know.
Yeah.
So there's lots of things available, like we said, on the My Sexual Health platform, and also do your research. I mean, we discovered with our last My VME party these dilators. different sizes of dilators.
Really
so
amazing.
You start off really small, and if you feel, oh, this is painful, then you know you have to see, you know, a professional that can help you, you know, and advise you on what to use to ensure that you don't experience pain when you're trying to, you know, pleasure yourself or to have intercourse with your partner. But there's stuff on the market that can assist you if you suffer from a dry vagina. There's lube or other medication that a professional can prescribe to you, and there are dilators. So, you know, once you've passed the certain size, and you know, you can go into the next size, and the next size after that, until you are comfortable and you are no longer experiencing pain, because pleasure is for everyone.
Yes. And it shouldn't be painful.
No,
It shouldn't be painful.
Yeah.
And sorry, just to touch on that, in our last Mind V as well, we had Dr. Louisa Albertine that came on, and she was actually giving her testimony. She had pain for the first 6 months of her marriage. She was a virgin. So guys, again, what we've learned in our MyVMEs, and that's why it's so important, book a ticket, book it for you understand your staff members. They will, if you're doing it for Women's Month or CSR project, you will set women free, because we've learned that 50% of women experience pain during sex, and 50% of them don't even know that it's normal, and it can be, you can get help. You can get help on it. You can get somebody to assist you, and they've got a massive amount of doctors, physiotherapists. They've got pelvic floor specialists. It can be done. So do not be in despair. If this is something we've touched on and it's touched you, please just email hello@Women's Warehouse, and we will try and put you in the right place or with the right person.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Then we want to talk about just your, you know, other ways of having sex, and it's not necessarily with, you know, with toys or anything like that. Phone sex, we briefly touched on that. This is a great tool that a lot of people used when we were in lockdown. They were separated from their husbands, their wives, their partners, and you know, how do you overcome that.
And have
Where you
sexy
can't-
time.
You have sexy time on the
Have
phone.
sexy time.
And you can actually have phone sex where you can, now with technology, you can FaceTime
Yeah.
and you can do your whole thing on the phone.
Yes.
And that's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing
Yeah.
because, you know, that's technology has just made this so much easier. You know, and this also, you know, if you have a long
Long distance.
that's the word I was looking for.
We will help you. No, we have for you.
A long distance relationship, that's where your technology comes in, and this is in a great way to keep the closeness of your relationship. And again, like I said, when you've got your partners away on contract, and you know, what do? And this is how you can connect with your partner, and this is the way that you can pleasure yourself, and he can pleasure himself, but you're doing it together.
Sorry, I watched this. It's just making me think. So there was this woman, and she was trying to do sexy time with her partner, and she was doing it over Skype, and she had put up the stand, and the computer was in the great space, and she had this special duvet set, and that was a satin duvet set, and she had this sexy lingerie. And as she sat down, she slipped off the bed and fell. So guys, don't,
much
that is
satin is
wonderful, but just take it slow. And satin, you slip. So just know that. So it must be 50-50. You can't have 100% slippery, okay? But I remember she was like so embarrassed because she had slipped with it. She was trying to get the sexy back. Very difficult to recover from that.
Yeah, isn't it so cool? Because, like we said earlier when we were talking about sexual pleasure, and you were reading the definition, it's physical and or psychological satisfaction. So, Dr. Elna always says that your biggest sex organ is actually your brain.
Yeah.
So you don't even have to have the person with you to, you know, experience satisfaction and pleasure. Just that connection online, and you can experience pleasure. I think that's absolutely amazing.
No,
That
100%. Because that's it. And I think that just a little tip here, I'll be married next year, I'll be married for 30 years. And I think the thing is that exactly that. It's all about, you know, the way that you think. So, you know, a lot of times what happens is women, and this is a fact, I heard it on Dr. Elna's show, she was talking about this. Men, libidos are higher than women's libido, but there's not a big difference.
Yeah.
So ladies, when you start thinking about sex in the beginning of the morning, all right, so you make your coffee and you think about that might be nice, and then as you're going through the day and you think about different things, by the time you get home, you're going to be ready
to go.
You're going to be ready to go.
And there's load shedding, guys. Use candles, get the lube out. Escom, will not
Thank you,
stop
Eskom.
pleasure. Will not stop pleasure.
So
Yeah,
think
I think it's powerful.
you know, so there's so many different ways that you can think about pleasure, and the thing is, you know, have the fantasy in your head about what you want to do and what it looks like, and you know, communicate that to your partner, because that's going to make it so much more exciting, and it's going to zhuzh up your marriage, it's going to zhuzh up your relationship in ways that you never thought, because this is actually such an incredible thing, because when you are having sex with somebody, you're actually joining and connecting with that person in a way that you would never do, you know, and it's so special. But when you make it exciting, and it's not just the same old thing, and this is the thing is we want your sex lives to be exciting, and we want it to be fulfilling, and pleasurable.
Yes.
I think at the end of
most
the day.
important.
And I think again we need to remind that if you are having really good sex, it's really good for your relationship. It really is. In a time that we're sitting in, when divorce is so high, invest in your sexual health with your partner. So invest in that. Communicate. It's very hard. I struggle with communication in that regard, and it's really been something that I've had to work on, because things change in your body, and first you got to get over the shame. Why is this changing? I'm 40 years old, things, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. But you need to get to a point where you'll communicate with your partner, and you know, you're blessed enough to have somebody that reciprocates or takes that in and then tries to do something to help you through that time is very powerful, and it just creates that bond. And I think if we had to invest, we invest in our health, we invest in our fitness. I think if you invested in your sexual health, I think it can be a game changer.
But not just that. Just think about it. Because it's the sex is designed for you to have pleasure.
Yes,
It's good for your body.
it's actually very good for you.
It's and we know that if you are having sex and you're orgasming, it reduces your stress levels.
Yeah.
Fact.
And South Africa's stressful.
Stress reliever.
No, and it does, and it makes you a happier person. At the end of the day, if you've got a good sex life, you are generally a happier person,
True that.
and you're not going to be,
True that.
you're not going to be snappy and
All over the place.
all over the place and in a mood. So that's why it's so important for us that ladies, when you come to our intimate health workshops or my VME workshops, this is what we do.
True,
is
yeah.
we educate you about loving your body. We educate you about the different parts of your body. We educate you about sex. We educate you about the stories that other women, we tell you about their stories that other women have gone through. Funny stories and obviously serious stories as well. That's where our Vagina Diaries comes in. And the sad thing for me is that in this country, we're one of the highest statistics in the world when it comes to women being abused. And our genitalia was not made to be abused.
No.
And in these sessions that we have, us as women, we actually can stand together.
Yeah.
And it just creates such a bond where we're lifting each other up. And a lot of women break each other down, women down, and that is not what we do. We actually lift you up, and we educate you, and we set you free. Because I think a lot of women, is just with your sexuality and all of that, there's a lot of shame. Attached to it, and there's a lot of subjects that we don't want to talk about, and we don't want to talk about to our friends. We don't want to we don't even ask our gynecologists. I know that because when I was a young mother and in my 30s, there were certain things that I was too shy to ask my gynecologist. And we're saying, no, this is a platform, it's a safe place where you are set free and you can ask the question. So ladies, if you have any questions out there that you are too shy to ask anybody, please email us on hello@Women's Warehouse, and we will get the experts to answer it. We will get Dr. Alna to answer it, and we will email you back. That's what we will do.
And I think over the last year and a half, we've pretty much heard every question.
Yes.
So we're in a good position to give you the best advice. And I just want to touch on all of this. There's a massive amount of self-worth that we are struggling with as women. And I'll stick my hand up in that regard, where you are too shy to be naked in front of your partner. You're too shy to maybe have sex with the lights on. And we need to really overcome that as a collective, because a man is visual. He doesn't care if you think you've got cellulite. He sees your boobs, he sees your vulva, and he sees your bum, and he's in love. He's in love, he loves you, he's there, he's in the moment. So don't let your insecurities ruin that mood as well. And it's a big step to move forward, because we are insecure by nature. The world tries to tell us we're not good enough. Social media can be a double-edged sword, because you see all these perceived perfection women, and you think you can't. Your husband loves you, your partner loves you. Go out there and just, when you're there, put everything at the door and just go and enjoy your partner. Enjoy.
Yeah, that's very important. And I love that what you just said now. I think that there's no filter like you have on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all of this. There's no filter, and we just need to be real. This is the way we are. Our bodies change as we grow older. Things are not the way they were when you were 20, and that's okay. No, it's okay. It's okay to grow old. It's okay to have a wrinkle or two.
Yes.
It really is okay.
To have cellulite and stretch marks.
Yes. Those are my birthmarks. They're my birthrights.
And be proud of them. So just to wrap up tonight, think about what's your pleasure. Think about what you want to explore with your body, and go and do it. Go and explore your body, and don't be in a position where you are not having pleasure. Because if you're not having pleasure, then don't do it. At the end of the day, I think that's it.
I think that's pretty much a wrap.
Yes, that is a wrap.
And there's enough time, if it's not load shedding, for you to go and get some pleasure.
Absolutely.
First. And husband, you can thank us. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. Welcome. Pleasure. Whoop, whoop.
It was lovely chatting with you guys again, and catch us tomorrow. Jenna's going to be talking about just how your pleasure changes through your different stages in your when you're growing older into an older woman.
More mature like wine.
Yes,
That's
that
what
will
we
fine one.
Wine.
I'm going to be talking about when you go through menopause, what happens there. And what are you going to be talking about?
That it's okay to ask for pleasure.
Yes,
You're right.
absolutely.
I'm ready for that one, Ashley. I'm so excited.
So have a good evening, and yes, go and get your pleasure. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.